Here's a thought for today. It's June 9th, and if today is your birthday, you share your birthday with legendary basketball announcer Dick Vitale, who turns 86 years old today. Now, Dick Vitale, he had some couple of coaching jobs in college, and he got 1 year coaching the Detroit Pistons in the NBA. And in 1979, he was fired from the Detroit Pistons. And here's Dick Vitale, 40 years old, wondering what's his next move. And there was this little upstart network that had just started that year that came knocking on his door called ESPN, who asked Dick Vitale if he would be interested in broadcasting college basketball games. And Dick Vitale's first reaction to that was, no way. There's no way. I know nothing about TV. I can't do that. But Dick Vitale didn't have a job, and his wife convinced him to say, you know what? Why don't you just go on TV and have some fun? But Dick Vitale couldn't think about that. He figured, I'm a coach. I've got to get back to coaching. So reluctantly, he takes that job at ESPN, telling them, if a coaching job shows up, I'm going to have to leave. And he wasn't a great broadcaster, really didn't know what was going on when he first started out. But the person who hired him said, you know what, you've got qualities that we cannot teach. And Dick Vitale really didn't understand what that meant. However, a couple of years later, when he's attending the Final Four, people are coming up to him and asking for his autographs. And he had no idea how popular he was becoming as a broadcaster. He had tapped into something that was just legendary inside him. And Dick Vitale's career as a basketball broadcaster has way outshined whatever he did as a coach in basketball. And it never would have happened if he didn't take that chance and saw what talents he had hidden inside him. And I think about that in business. And, it could be in part of your career, or whether you run a business, there are changes that happen over time. And sometimes the things that you were doing just aren't working anymore. And you've got to think of new ways or a new path of what direction you're going to go. And it's scary because you just don't know what could happen. But there could be something legendary that could awaken in you. And what's the worst thing that can happen? If it doesn't work out, you can always go back to what you were doing before. So think about that. We're getting near the halfway point of the year. Things aren't quite working out the way you want them. Maybe it's time to try something different. Maybe it's time to go in a new direction. And it could be something that just you never knew had the potential in it, just because you tried. And, just last month, ESPN decided to give Dick Vitale a 2-year extension on his contract. So he'll be broadcasting till he's 88. Only legends get those type of contracts. So think about taking a chance coming into the second half of 2025, and maybe something legendary will awaken in you, just like it did for Dick Vitale. Now go make something happen.